तो बलि का बकरा सर मैं ही भरा, ठीक है भाई। तो I am blessed by the present devotees who have given me a chance, and I hope I will be able to satisfy them. Today's katha is normally on the pastimes of Lord Nṛsiṁha, who is in Mayapur. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devyam Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamutirayet Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Neshtaki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Nama Namo Pankajanabhaya Namo Pankajamalane Namo Pankajanetraya Namaste Pankajangre. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Om Gyantimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakya Chaksuranmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Shri Chaitanya Mano Bhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mayham Dadati Supadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagan Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadhvetam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagan Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhano Sute Devi Priyanamami Hari Priye. Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. His Holiness Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj ki jai. His Grace Rupalas Prabhu ji ki jai. Samasta Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Nṛsiṁha Bhagwan ki jai. So we start with Nṛsiṁha Bhagwan. There is, of course, the pastimes. There are so many pastimes. So it will take at least 2 sessions to finish this. The first session we will take is how Lord Nṛsiṁha, who is in the form of, appearance, Nṛsiṁhadeva, this Ugravir. So this is different from what we have got in our ISKCON Jew temple. Originally, Lord Nṛsiṁha had to come to save Prahlad Maharaj and also to save the devatas, demigods, from the torture of Hiranyakashipu. Also, he had to come to kill Hiranyakashipu, who was none other than Jai. So this matter took place, this Leela took place in Andhra Pradesh, in a place called Ahoba. Now when we say this Jai Nṛsiṁha, Sri Nṛsiṁha, Jai Jai Sri Nṛsiṁha, Prahladeshu Jaya Padma, Mukha Padma Bringa, Ugram Viram Maha Vishnu Jwalantam Sarvato Mukham, Nṛsiṁha Bhishanam Badram Mrityar Mrityo Namamiyam. So in this way, in this, there are 9 different types of Nṛsiṁha Bhagwans. Normally from their face, from the body, from the limbs, etc. So, and they say that it's very, very difficult to do a worship of Ugravir type of Nṛsiṁha Bhagwan. It so happened that somewhere in 1984, yes, March 1984, in Mayapur temple, at that time Nṛsiṁha Bhagwan was not there. There were only Panchatattva, that is Nityanand Mahaprabhu and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and associates, and Srila Prabhupada and Radha Madhav with Ashtasakhis. So it happened in those days, there were very many dacoits in Bengal. Daku जिसको बोलते हैं, Daku. They were there everywhere, even in Uttar Pradesh they were there. So normally the dacoits, what they do, they come, they give you a warning before that we are coming and keep for us some booty available. Booty means the money and all that. But this time it so happened that they attacked, about 35 dacoits attacked on Mayapur temple. This temple is known as Chandra Uday temple. Chandra Uday temple, yes. So then at the time, of course, when they came, the devotees who were there, they resisted them, and maybe they wanted to take the deities of Srila Prabhupada and Srimati Radharani. So the devotees who were there, staying permanently in the temple, they resisted and had a fighting with those people. And of course, some devotees had the guns. They shot the guns, and some 2-3 dacoits were killed. And the dacoits, they ran away. But they could manage to take away the deity of Srimati Radha Rani. How could they see Prabhupada and Srimati Radharani carried away? Shots were fired, a few decades fell, and their plans were foiled. Srila Prabhupada was rescued, but that beautiful form of Srimati Radharani would no longer grace the main altar. So this incident really disturbed the minds of the devotees, those involved in the management were especially concerned about to make some permanent solution. So this was not the first time the devotees had faced violence and harassment in Mayapur. So Bhavanand Das, who was the co-director of ISKCON Mayapur, suggested that Lord Nṛsiṁhadeva be installed. It had so happened that when the dacoits had threatened devotees at the Yoga Pitha, which is the place for Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur and his son Srila Bhakti Siddhant Saraswati Thakur had promptly installed Sri Sri Lakshmi Nṛsiṁhadeva. There had been no further disturbances after Nṛsiṁha Bhagavan was installed. And as it is, you know that Nṛsiṁha Bhagavan is considered to be Vigna Vinashak. So Ganpati is considered Vigna Hartha, and he gets his blessings from Nṛsiṁha Bhagavan, and Nṛsiṁha Bhagavan is considered to be Vigna Vinashak. So considering this, the Bhavanand, he suggested, let us also have one deity of Nṛsiṁha Bhagavan. Other devotees in the Mayapur were not so keen to follow so closely in these footsteps. The pujari must be, because they knew that to worship Nṛsiṁha Bhagavan, the devotee should be brahmachari from the birth, and he should continue worshipping in the way it has been mentioned in the Shastras, and it's difficult. But anyway, he said, we will see that later on, who is to worship. In the meantime, let us arrange for this Nṛsiṁha Bhagavan deity. So this Bhavanand, who was the director, he told now this story, I will tell you, is based on the book written by Pankaj Agri. You know that recently he left his body and went to Vaikuntha. He worshipped, he was a main pujari for Nṛsiṁha Bhagavan for about 35 years. And what he had the experiences about the Leelas of Nṛsiṁha Bhagavan, pastimes, and how various devotees had benefited by worshipping Lord Nṛsiṁha. So he wrote a book on that, and I am just telling from that book. So despite such hesitancy of who will be worshipping, Bhavanand was enthusiastic to bring Lord Nṛsiṁhadeva to Mayapur. He asked Bhakti Siddhant Das This Bhakti Siddhanta Das is different from that Bhakti Siddhanta Thakur. He is the devotee in Mayapur. Bhakti Siddhanta Das and myself means he is Atma Tattva Prabhu, Atma Tattva. They were asked to draw a sketch of how Lord Nṛsiṁha Bhagavan will be looking like. So both of them together, and they told them that he should be having little legs bent as if ready to jump from the pillar. His hand should be like this, so that his nails are ready to crush the terrorists or the asuras or those who are keeping asuric bhav. So within 2 days, they prepared the sketch. One day, quite spontaneously, he said, the deity's legs should be bent, ready to jump. He should be looking around ferociously. His fingers should be curled, and flames should, this is very important. He said, and his flames should be coming from his head. I sketched a deity in this mood. The devotees liked it, and Pankaja Angri Das agreed to worship him. So he agreed that he will take care of all the worship and prayers of Lord Jagannath when he comes there. So there was one wealthy person in Kolkata. His name was Radhapat. He was also a devotee of the Lord. So he offered to sponsor the sculpting and installing of the deity. It seemed Lord Nṛsiṁhadeva's appearance in ISKCON Mayapur would be simple, straightforward. Radhapat Das promptly gave 1,30,000 rupees. In those days, that amount was quite big. And it was accepted that the deity would be ready for installation in 3 months. So I left for South India because they knew that this sculpting is done only in Andhra Pradesh or Tamil Nadu. So Atma Tattva Prabhu, he went to South India. There he met one sculptor known as Sthapati. Sthapati not only sculpts the deities, he also expert in temple architecture and engineering. The man was very obliging until I mentioned that the deity we wanted carved was Ugra Nṛsiṁhadeva. The moment Sthapati heard this, he emphatically refused to make such a deity. I approached many deity sculptors, others, but answer was no, because the person who is sculpting that deity from a stone, first of all, he should have the knowledge about the type of the stone and all that. And then there should be proper worship of this. Otherwise, there were instances that when such deities were sculpted before, the entire villages were burnt by their Ugrasen, Mana Gosese, the fire coming out from their mouth. So now this, our devotee, it seemed Lord Nṛsiṁhadeva's appearance in ISKCON Mayapur would be a simple, straight, but forward affair. No. So I approached many deity sculptors, but the answer was always the same: no. I had made a number of trips between Mayapur and South India. 6 months had passed. See, they wanted to install this within 3 months, but now 6 months had already passed. But Lord Nṛsiṁhadeva had not yet manifested in his deity form. Radhapad Das was very anxious, who had sponsored to see Lord Nṛsiṁhadeva installed in Mayapur. He asked me to visit the original Sthapati I had seen and once again plead our case. So this time the sculptor was little more congenial and offered to read me a chapter. He opened a book. Book was known as Shilpa Shastra, a Vedic scripture on sculpture and temple architecture that deals with different forms of deities. So he read aloud some verses describing Lord Nṛsiṁhadeva. A series of verses described his flame-like mane, वो lion के गले में जो होती है mane बड़ा बाल, his searching glance and his knees bent with one foot forward, ready to jump from the pillar. When he read this, I was amazed. That was exactly what we wanted. I showed him the sketch I had done, so he was impressed and offered to draw an outline based on the scriptural description. And first the sketch was drawn by these people, but what was given in the scriptures, so that Sthapati, he wanted to draw the sketch. Which we could use as a guide for sculpting the deity. He reminded me, though, that he would not carve the form himself. It took him a week to complete the sketch. एक हफ्ता लगा उसको sketch बनाने के लिए सिर्फ. It was very impressive. I returned to Mayapur and showed the sketch to the temple authorities. Everyone wanted the same Sthapati to carve the deity. Once again, I was sent back to South India to try to convince him. I went straight to the house of Sthapati. I was feeling very anxious. What could I do but pray to Lord Nṛsiṁhadeva to be merciful and agree to manifest himself in our temple in Sri Mayapur Dham. I had hardly said 2 sentences in my prayer when the man, matter of fact, said he would carve the deity. That is the mercy of the Lord. See, mercy, the Lord immediately ordered Sthapati that you must do the carving. The story of how he came to this decision is interesting. The Sthapati had approached his guru, the Shankaracharya of Kanchipuram, about our request. His guru's immediate reply was, "Don't do it." When he heard that it was Hare Krishna people from Navadvip, he became very concerned. They want Ugra Nṛsiṁha. Are they aware of the implications of sculpting and installing Ugra Nṛsiṁha? Such deities were carved over 3,000 years ago by very elevated sthapatis. There is a place on the way to Mysore in Karnataka where a very ferocious Ugra Narasimha is installed. The demon Hiranyakashipu is torn open on his lap and his intestines are spilling out all over the altar. Once the standard of worship there was very high. There was an elephant procession and a festival every day. Like you must have seen that when we visited Udupi, in Udupi, almost every day in the evening, procession was taken, the deity was taken on the top of the elephant, and a parikrama was given around in the chowk area. So similarly, that was a system in Karnataka. So that Sthapati is telling to a story as to how he agreed to carve the deity from the stone. So the demon Hiranyakashipu, he was torn and then his intestines were there. And there was an elephant procession and a festival every day. But gradually the worship declined. Today that place is like a ghost town. The whole village is deserted. No one can live there peacefully. Is that what they want for their project? So Guru, that Shankaracharya is telling to Sthapati that in Mayapur they want to install this Ugra Narasimha. He is very dangerous. If his prayer, his worship is not done properly, he can burn the whole thing, whole area of Mayapur. So he's giving that example of Karnataka, what had happened there. So no one can live peacefully. Is that what they want? They are very insistent. Sthapati told them that they are very insistent because they are having the constant problem of dacoits coming and attacking them. Apparently they have some problem with the dacoits. So handing his Guru a sketch of the deity, he said, this is the deity they want. So Sthapati is telling our devotee the story of how he had approached his Guru, Shankaracharya, and how he had got the permission. His Guru took his sketch and looked at it knowingly. This is Ugra category, he said. But a deity in this particular mood is called Isthanu. Isthanu means little merciful. He doesn't exist on this planet. Even the demigods in the heavenly planets don't have worship form of like this. Yes, this deity belongs to the Ugra category. Ugra means ferocious, very angry. There are 9 forms within this category. They are all very fierce. The one they want is Isthanu Narasimha, stepping out of the pillar. No, don't call this deity. It will not be auspicious for you. I will talk with you about this later. A few nights later, the Sthapati had a dream. In the dream, his Guru came to him and said, for them, you can carve Isthanu Narasimha. The next morning, he received a hand-delivered letter from Kanchipuram. The letter was from Shankaracharya and gave some instructions regarding temple renovations. There was a footnote at the bottom. It read, for ISKCON, you can carve Sthanu Nṛsiṁha. The Sthapati showed this letter and said, I have my Guru's blessings, I'll carve your deity. Because if first the Guru warned him, but when he saw the sketch and said that this is Ugra, but Sthanu type, so you can carve that. I was overwhelmed with joy. Devotee became very happy, and I gave him an advance payment and asked him how much time it would take to carve the deity. He said deity would be ready for installation within 6 months. I returned to Mayapur, and after 4 peaceful months in Holy Dham, I decided to go to South India and purchase the heavy brass paraphernalia required for the worship of Nṛsiṁha, and then collect the deity. So he thought within 4 months, it may be ready. The trip was well organized and trouble-free until I visited the Sthapati. I explained to him that all the paraphernalia required for the worship had been purchased and that I had come to collect the deity. Sthapati looked at me as though I had lost my senses and exclaimed, what deity? I haven't even found a suitable stone. I couldn't believe my ears, devotee says. I couldn't believe my ears. But you told me he would be ready in 6 months. I explained. I will keep my promise, that is Sthapati say, I will keep my promise, but only after I get the stone, proper stone. 6 months after I have found the stone, the deity will be ready for installation. His reply was emphatic, but I just couldn't understand or accept the delay. In frustration, I challenged him. There are so many big slabs lying there here around, all stone all over the South India, because South India is full of mountains, that Eastern Ghats, which we call Nilgiris. So he said, there are so many stone slabs, you can take anyone. His reply was emphatic, but I just couldn't understand or accept the delay. In frustration, I challenged him. Okay. So he said that I am not making a grinding mortar, I am making a deity. The scriptures tell us that only a stone that has the life can be used to make a Vishnu deity. When you hit 7 points, suppose there is a slab, you have to hit at 7 different points. And if you get a sound from that, that means that stone is a live stone. Maybe many of us, they do not know this. And also he says there is another thing, that if there are some certain type of bugs, they penetrate into the stones. They make their house in the stone. So he says that stone in which a bug has entered and crossed through, like made a tunnel out of that scripture, that stone is good for making a deity. It's a living stone. That stone is living stone and expression can manifest from it. Only from such a stone can I carve your Nṛsiṁhadeva. Such a stone speaks poetry. All features of a deity sculpted from such a stone will be fully expressive and beautiful. Please be patient. I have been searching sincerely for your 6-foot slab. I was amazed and a little anxious. The devotees in Mayapur were expecting the arrival of the deity soon. How was I going to explain the living stone? पुजारियों को कैसे पता पड़ेगा लिविंग स्टोन क्या होता है? So maybe they would decide to make Nṛsiṁhadeva from marble only. I decided to try to lighten the subject by discussing the Prahlad Maharaj also. Now, see the wonder. He said, we want, wow, we are having Nṛsiṁhadeva's story and the rain has come pouring. So he says, I forgot to tell you last time I came that we also want a Prahlad Murti. We want to worship Prahlad Nṛsiṁhadeva. What do you think? Don't think that will be possible. The Sthapati replied matter-of-factly. I looked at him incredulously, not sure what to say. He smiled and continued, you want everything done exactly according to the scriptures. Your Nṛsiṁhadev will be 4 feet high. Comparatively speaking, that will make Prahlad Maharaj like this, small, the size of an amoeba, a small worm. But we want Prahlad Maharaj 1 foot high. The devotee said, no, we want 1 foot. He said, if you want 1 foot, then the Nṛsiṁha Bhagavan has to be 120 feet high. Because as per the actual, when Lord Nṛsiṁha had taken appearance, he had appeared, so his body was so huge that Prahlad Maharaj looked like a small jantu in front of him. And that was mentioned in the Shastra. But then after much argument, the Sthapati, he agreed on Prahlad Maharaj because actually the Prahlad Maharaj was he was a devotee of the Lord. So it didn't matter what should be the size of it. And he agreed that, okay, he will prepare 1 foot tall. So at least now I had something positive to report when I returned to Mayapur. After 2 months, I returned again to South India. There had been no development. There had been no developments. I shuttled back and forth from Mayapur to South India every 30 or 40 days. Finally, our stone was found, and the Sthapati became transformed man. For over a week, he hardly spent any time at home. Full time, 24 hours, he was in the workshop, the store where that stone was kept, and he was drawing the sketch. So he took 1 week only to prepare the sketch accordingly where the cutting had to be done in the stone. He had chalk in hand, but didn't draw anything. He refused to allow his laborers to do anything besides remove the excess stone to make the slabs which come from the rocks. Their uneven shape is there. So a shape has to be given. So sculpting is to be done by Sthapati, a qualified person. But other laborers can do the chiseling and make a proper shape of the stone slab, which can be used for sculpting. The next time I visited him, he had made a sketch on the stone. That was all. I was worried. The Mayapur managers were becoming impatient. Are you sure the DT will be finished in 6 months? I asked in desperation. Isthapati said, don't worry, the work will be done. He replied, I returned to Mayapur only to be sent back to South India to check on some details of DT. I found the Isthapati carving the form himself with intense care and dedication. At that stage, the stone had gone and the shape had come. The Sthapati had just started on the armlets. He took 2 weeks to carve them. All the features were so refined and delicate. I was impressed and very happy. It took the Sthapati a little over 12 months to finish the dating. When he completed the work, he didn't immediately inform me, but decided to visit some friends for a few days. थक गया था काम करके. So he thought, let me have some rest. So what he did, he kept that DT in the store and made some puja and went to the friends. After 2 days, the neighbors, they informed him there was a heavy rain. The 2 days later, his neighbors ran to inform him that the store, the thatched shed, was on fire. There was a heavy rain and everything was wet, but the coconut tree roof had caught fire. He ran to the scene to find Nṛsiṁhadeva untouched. नरसिम्हादेव को कुछ नहीं हुआ था. उसके सिर में से जो बारिश निकली थी, ये जो फायर निकली थी, उसने पूरा रूफ को जला दिया था. In spite of there being so much rain from the top. But the shade burned to ashes. Immediately he phoned, please come and take your DT. He is burning everything. He has made it clear he wants to go now, because that is a way, indication that Bhagavan wants to come to Mayapur and he doesn't want to stay there anymore. So he started burning. Enthusiastically, I traveled to South India, hired a truck and half filled it with sand, क्योंकि पत्थर है कभी टूट नहीं जाए उसमें जग से. He put sand on in the truck, arrived at the Sthapati's studio, thinking this final stage would be relatively simple. I had foolishly forgotten that Lord Nṛsiṁhadeva is a very heavy personality. He weighed 1 ton. After 2 or 3 hours, we managed to lift the DT safely from the shed onto the truck. Now to travel across the borders from Andhra Pradesh to Bengal, there are so many formalities of taking permissions from various departments. Like here, when we want to construct a building, we have to take permission from at least 20 different departments: fire department, structural department, water department, drainage department, municipality, planning department, and all that, even aviation department. So to travel across the border safely, we also needed police permission along with signed papers from the Central Sales Tax Department. उन दिनों में क्या होता था, कई बार in the olden days, in our old temples, the deities were being stolen and sent to foreign countries, and they were fetching very big amounts there from the foreign countries. So it was very necessary to take the police permission to then also, along with the signed papers from the Central Sales Tax Department, the Archaeological Director, and the Art Emporium Directorate in Tamil Nadu, all the officers demanded to see the deity before signing the necessary papers. So the truck had to be taken everywhere in every department to take. So once they took the darshan of Lord Nṛsiṁhadeva, they all became very obliging and efficient. We had all the necessary papers in hand within 24 hours. A miracle, given the usual quagmire of bureaucracy found in government offices in India, where the permissions are not given so easily. One has to visit number of times. The trip back to Mayapur was also amazingly trouble-free and peaceful. Our protector was certainly present with us. That was Nṛsiṁhadeva. Usually the Isthapati comes on the day to the installation ceremony, goes into the deity room and carves the eyes of the deity, because this is called Netra Nimilenam. Netra Nimilenam. That is opening the eyes. But it was an exceptional case that our Nṛsiṁhadevji's Isthapati had already carved the eyes. He had not only carved the eyes, he had also done the prana pratishtha, that is installing the life force. Because normally whenever any deity is to be installed, then we do the prana pratishtha, that is a havan is performed and all that, so that the life comes in the deity. So here, he had not only carved the eyes, he had also done the prana pratishtha, a little puja, and an arti. I am sure that that is why all the papers were prepared so obligingly, and transporting the Supreme Lord was so easy. He was already present, and who would dare to say no to Lord Nṛsiṁhadeva? The installation of the Lord Nṛsiṁhadeva was very simple and lasted 3 days, from the 28th to the 30th of July 1986. See, they wanted in 1984, but after 2 years, they got the deity to be installed. I remember feeling apprehensive that perhaps the installation was so simple. The grave warnings of Shankaracharya of Kanchipuram had deeply impressed me, but my mind was soon appeased by an awareness of the loud dynamic kirtan, Sankirtan Yajna, the only true opulence of Kali Yuga, was dominating the scene. I felt enlivened and satisfied. So Lord Nṛsiṁhadeva, the protector of the Sankirtan mission, had finally decided to manifest at Sri Mayapur Chandra Udaya. So this is how it took 2 years to bring the deity of Lord Nṛsiṁhadeva there. You can understand that how the people who knew the job of sculpting, they knew even the type of the stone which is to be used and all that. Now, Pankaja Angri, he says, now this is about the worship which is there to be done in altar of Nṛsiṁhadeva. So he says, of course it is in Sanskrit. So he says, O Nṛsiṁha, whose form is terrible by sharp and long teeth, who is very fearful to see with strong large nails, and who is garlanded by flames, destroy my obstacles, and kick out my fear. Scatter my enemies. Destroy my karma. Flash, kill, cut. Ever fulfill my desire to serve you and protect me and all around me. So this is the first prayer which was done by Pankaj Angri, who agreed to in 1986 when this was installed. Of course, Pankaj Angri was in America, and then Srila Prabhupada had told him that you go to Mayapur and stay there and take charge of Nṛsiṁhadeva, which will be coming very soon. And he had also told him that you have to be careful while doing worship for Nṛsiṁhadeva. So he continued for 35 years. Nobody else was prepared to do the worship for Lord Nṛsiṁha. So startling, isn't it? This Mahamantra of Lord Nṛsiṁhadeva, for those who have had darshan of this deity form here in Mayapur, especially at Mangala Arati, when in the darkness of pre-dawn, his doors open to reveal his awesome form, illuminated by 200 oil lamps that makes his eyes and teeth glint in his lion-like face, with gaping mouth. They know that this description is no exaggeration. While inside the altar area, the pujari circles large lamps, bright flaming camphor and ghee. Outside, many devotees throng for a glimpse of. The doors are still closed. जब मंगल आरती होती है तो पहले भगवान को उठाना पड़ता है. जो पुजारी होता है, he goes inside. जैसे हमारे रूपलास प्रभु जी की भी क्या करते थे, 3:30 बजे उठ के जाते थे मंदिर में और डीटीज को उठाते थे और तैयार करते थे for giving darshan and blessings to the devotees who were present for Mangala Arati. So he said, then outside many devotees throng for a glimpse of the Lord, for they know that this auspicious Arati will be over in just 3 or 4 minutes. This time, I had no time to mug up the whole thing, so I am reading it. Please excuse me. I am reading and telling you the story. So it is before 5 a.m. The Aarti is over and the heavy wooden doors to the Lord Nṛsiṁhadeva's altar are open. I enter the deity room after offering prostrated obeisances and praying for the blessings of Srila Prabhupada and the assembled devotees, while standing before the Lord with folded hands, I recited the following prayer. O Keshav, O Lord of the universe, O Lord Hari, who has assumed the form of half man, half lion, all glories to you, just as one can easily crush a wasp between one's, that we say, Tava kara kamalavare nakha adbud shringa dalita hiranyakashipu tanu bringa. So this is what he has translated into English. So in the same way, the body of the wasp-like demon Hiranyakashipu has been ripped apart by the wonderful painted nails on your beautiful lotus hands. After cleaning the floor and sitting on kush grass mat, the puja begins. The first thing I do is to purify the articles to be used, as well as the body and the mind. Then I meditate on my spiritual identity as different from the body, understanding myself to be the eternal servant of his Ugra's face. I can show you on, you can see that, the Ugra face of this. This is actually in Mayapur.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes. So next comes my worship for my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada with sandalwood paste, flowers, incense and ghee lamps and some food. I then ask for his permission to assist in worship of Lord Nṛsiṁhadeva. Repeating the same procedure for Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Sri Prahlad Maharaj, I begin to offer 16 attempts of worship through mantras through the medium of water to Lord Nṛsiṁhadeva. I touch my head to the lotus feet of the deity of Sri Prahlad Maharaj, praying for his blessings. It was only to relieve the distress brought to you by your demonic, yes, that is that. Demonic father Hiranyakashipu, that the Supreme Lord appeared in this wonderful form of the Lord Nṛsiṁhadeva. O Shri Prahlad Maharaj, you are one of the 12 Mahajans, so great authorities of devotional service. Kindly bless me with the understanding of spiritual truths. On the altar of Lord Nṛsiṁhadeva are 60 salagram shilas. I remove them to offer Abhishek. The big shila in the center, who wears a crown, is Nṛsiṁhadeva. So although it is, and in addition to the main deity of Nṛsiṁhadeva, previously they were this shilas, Saligram shilas, which were being worshipped. So although it is a scriptural injunction that one should touch one's head to the feet of the deity, it is not always possible to or practical. Therefore, we bring out the satari. Satari means the foot, पाँव में जो पहनते हैं लकड़ी की पादुका, जिसको बोलते हैं पादुका, which were taken by Lord this Bharat Maharaj, taken from Sri Ram to be kept on the crown, on the throne. So here also, because everybody cannot go in the altar to touch this is only allowed in Pandharpur, where when you go to see Vitthal Bhagwan, Panduranga, then there he is so close that you can touch his feet or your head to his feet. But in this case, like in our ISKCON, Jew, or everywhere in ISKCON temples, the deities are kept away. The devotees cannot approach or touch them. So he says, therefore, we bring out the sataris, the deities' shoes, mounted on what looks like a helmet, and place it over the heads of the devotees. One of the benedictions of being a pujari is that he can place his head directly on the Lord's lotus feet, receiving this benediction and begging forgiveness for any inconvenience I may have caused him. I undress the Lord and wipe his body with a soft, damp towel. His body begins to shine when I massage it with cooling oils like sandalwood or kush. His form is exquisite, slender, and perfectly formed. He looks powerful, but also graceful. The Lord's knees are bent, ready to spring, and around his hips is an engraved girdle bearing a face with large cheeks, open mouth, and a protruding tongue. His navel is deep and his chest is broad. Lord Nṛsiṁhadev's transcendental body is smooth, soft to the touch, and very much appealing to the eye. He is bedecked with bracelets and other ornaments. The Lord has 8 arms in 6 hands. He holds sword, lotus flower, disc, conch, club, and shield. And to keep the promise of Brahma, his 2 front hands yield no weapons. The Lord cannot bear any intolerance against his devotees. It is said that the face is the index of the mind. So, if this proves to be true, then we can see how furious Lord Nṛsiṁhadev must have been when he burst out from the pillar to attack the greatest of the demons, Hiranyakashipu, who tried to kill the Lord's pure devotee Prahlad. His angry eyes resembled molten gold, and his shining mane expanded the dimensions of his fearful face. His deadly teeth and his razor sharp tongue moved about like a dueling sword. His ears were erect and motionless. This is he's explaining when he was in the Ugra form and came from the pillar. And his nostrils and gaping mouth appealed like caves of a mountain. He was so huge. His jaws parted fearfully, and his entire body touched the sky. When it was decided to bring a deity of Lord Nṛsiṁhadev to Mayapur for the protection of the devotees and the temple, 3 of the main pujaris were called by the managers to discuss the importance of establishing this deity. However, when it came to the point of who would perform daily puja, no one was willing to step forward. After such a long waiting period, the deity is finally ready, and now nobody wants to worship him. Their concern was obvious, and then I was singled out. Why don't you want to worship him? That is, Pankajangari. I was asked, I am too scared. I replied, they intimated me. Oh, you probably don't follow the four regulative principles. Of course, I do. But so they taunted him. Only those should be afraid who are not following the four regulative principles or who are not in Krishna consciousness, because those who are in Krishna consciousness, Krishna takes care of them. And Lord Narasimha is same as Krishna. So one should not be afraid. So fortunately, our fears were allayed by Atma Tattva Prabhu, who procured the deity in South India. He told us that first, even the Isthapati refused to make such a deity, saying that nobody worships this Isthanu form of the Nrsimhadev, the ferocious form of the Lord, when he stepped out to the pillar to kill Hiranyakashipu. Generally, one goes before the deity of the Lord to ask for some benediction, but to ask for something when he is shaking with fury just wouldn't be a smart thing to do. It is certainly better to go for a more pacified form. Example, after he has killed Hiranyakashipu, but later when the Isthapati found out that it was for Mayapur Dham, he agreed, because any deity brought to the Dham takes on the mood of the presiding deity of the Dham. In this case, it is Audarya. Audarya means benevolence. The mood of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityanand Mahaprabhu, Shri Gaur Hari. So he said they had agreed to prepare this deity only because they knew that Mayapur is blessed by Lord Chaitanya, who is Krishna himself, and also he is present in the temple itself. Although very ferocious, the lioness is very kind to her cubs. Similarly, although very ferocious to non-devotees like Hiranyakashipu, Lord Nrsimhadev is very, very gentle and kind to his devotees like Prahlad Maharaj. While dressing the Lord and remembering his mercy, I am thinking how some people misunderstand our purpose of worshipping Lord Nrsimha. Sometimes devotees say that worship of Nrsimhadev is Vaikuntha, and it cannot take one to Golok, Vrindavan, the Lord's supreme and most intimate abode. But Lord Nrsimhadev is particularly inclined towards the devotees of Radha and Krishna. He is Krishna himself, appearing especially in the form to reciprocate with our desire to remove all the obstacles in our devotional service. If one can always raise his hands and call out with great love the names of Nitai Gaur and Radha Madhav, that is wonderful. But if there is something in your heart that is stopping you from that spontaneous call, why not go in all humility before Lord Nrsimhadev and pray that with his sharp nails he may pierce those crooked desires in your heart and throw them far away. This is his main function. Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur writes, therefore, I will pray at the feet of Lord Nrsimhadev to purify my heart and give me the desire to serve Krishna, weeping. To serve Krishna weeping. I will beg at the lotus feet of Nrsimha that I may worship Sri Radha and Krishna in Navadvip Dham, free from all obstacles. His prayers continue At that moment, Lord Nṛsiṁhadev's mercy, I will exhibit symptoms of ecstatic love for Radha and Krishna, and I will roll on the ground by door of Lord Nṛsiṁhadev's temple. Didn't Lord Chaitanya reveal his divinity to Srivasa Thakur while Srivasa was worshipping his Nrsimha deity by saying, Srivas, don't you know that I am the same person whom you are worshipping behind those closed doors? And what about Advaita Acharya, whose offerings of Tulasi buds and Ganga water, along with his loud calling, caused the Lord to descend? It is said that he worshipped a Nrsimha Shalagram. I now begin putting ornaments on the Lord's body. I adjust Sri Nrsimhadev's necklaces so they hang systematically, tie shining bracelets on his wrist, and fix beautiful rings on his lotus fingers. I am so close to you, O Lord, and yet so far away. When will I become a devotee? Prahlad, your foremost bhakta, is indicating that he is not afraid of your ferocious mouth and tongue, your eyes as bright as the sun, and your frowning eyebrows. He fears not your sharp, pinching teeth, your garland of intestines, and your mane soaked with blood, nor your tumultuous roaring, which makes elephants flee, nor your nails meant for. So Pankaj is saying about that Prahlad Maharaj is not afraid of this ferocious type. So why should we be afraid? However, he says, I am very much afraid of my condition of life within this material world. When will that moment come when you will call me to the shelter of your lotus feet? I know Sri Prahlad was saying that last point only for our benefit, for he was because Prahlad Maharaj, when he was asked to take the benediction from Nṛsiṁhadev, he didn't ask for anything. He said only that I want to live here for the benefit, for welfare, or udar जिसको बोलते हैं, for the general public, the all living entities, and please only liberate my father for whatever he has done, and he should be excused. So this is what he is explaining here. One time I also felt surrendered unto you, at least for a few minutes. That was during the big flood in 1987. So he is giving one of his example that once 1987 there was a flood, and the water had entered in the temple up to west. Of course, our deities, the podium is quite high, the stage is up. Water did not reach the feet of our deities, but the artis were being performed in the west deep water. So here he says that while offering you puja, standing waist deep in water, a big frightening snake swam in the temple. Passing behind you, it stopped about 5 feet in front of me. Finding its exit blocked, after examining me for some long moments, It dipped down out of sight in the muddy Ganga water. Feeling myself in imminent danger, I noticed the hair on my arms standing on end with no weapon to defend myself, nor the ability to run away. I felt very insecure in such a helpless condition. I turned to you, to the Lord, on Lord, and I knew that my fate was completely in your hands. You are the super soul in everyone's heart. If you want that snake to bite me, it will bite. If you don't, then it won't bite. So let me continue my service. The result is dependent on you. Then I became peaceful again, feeling the safety of your shelter. So I finished the morning puja, but I couldn't stop thinking about the incident. It reminded me of the description of the Lord Kapila of the babies in the womb in their helpless and painful condition. They get darshan of Paramatma, the Lord in the heart. If they are pious, they pray that if he relieves them from their suffering condition, they would, after being relieved from the womb, exclusively worship them. But as soon as they are out and in good shape, they forget everything. Still, I have great hope that one day I will be able to serve you nicely for your prayer. By the way, as long as the temple room was filled with water from the flood, the snake would come every day, circumambulate the deity of Nṛsiṁhadeva, and then go out. Who knows who that snake actually was? Covering his body. So further, Pankaj Agri, he says further, give me some 5 minutes, please. Covering the body with fresh garlands of flowers and tulasi, offering sandalwood paste mixed with fragrant flowers and tulasi leaves to his lotus feet, which symbolizes sacrificing everything to the Lord. The morning puja is now complete. Hearing devotees gathering outside makes me hurry. It is time for darshan. Now this is darshan arti. So I blow the conch 3 times and open the doors to reveal the resplendent Lord. Jai Shri Prahlad Nṛsiṁhadeva. The Jai Shri Nṛsiṁhadeva. The devotees bow down, happy to see their Ugra Nṛsiṁha again. In their hearts, they know that he is not really as Ugra as he looks. So this is from an article published in Mayapur journal on summer 1994. So I end here this is part 1 of how our Lord Nṛsiṁhadeva in Ugra form, he came, manifested himself in Mayapur, and he is being worshipped there. In the next session, if you will give me a chance, then we will go in for the pastimes performed by him. Most of the pastimes which are performed by him is healing the persons who are sick for a long time, or fulfilling the desires of the people to serve him, or even to those people who are not able to conceive a child, blessing them to have the child and all that. So these pastimes will be there. Number of pastimes are there. So it will take full session for that. Hare Krishna. If anyone has any questions, please you can ask me, even though I am not authorized to comment anything on this. But then,
Hare Krishna,
anyone?
very nicely explained, Prabhuji. Or Harish Sahani Prabhu has written, well explained Katha in the simple language, giving solace to my spirit soul. Hare Krishna, Guruji.
My obeisances to him. He
Very
is our
nicely written.
eldest. He is our eldest devotee in our group, 89 years old. Anyone else?
Whoever would like to ask questions or add any comment, kindly raise your hand. Prabhuji, it was wonderful Katha to know that how much time and pain it took for them for months after months after months. They had to travel between
Yes.
South
Yes.
and Mayapur, and finally how the Lord
Yes.
was so merciful, and within
Yes.
24 hours
Yes.
he gave all the permission how to 1 ton
Yes.
despite that, and all various permissions in such a short time,
Yes.
and
Yes.
that sculpture was
And
also a great person.
moreover, once he came to Mayapur, installed there, there was no any terrorist attack on the temple.
Hari Bol,
All
Hari
the
Bol,
terrorists, they ran away from Mayapur area,
Hari
Navadvip.
Bol, Hari Bol.
Okay, so we will finish here.
Yes, anybody would like to ask any
Anyone
question,
else?
add anything? Amrit Jivan Prabhu?
Otherwise, we can close at least the YouTube.
Yeah, yes. I'll close the YouTube, Prabhu.